Hello everyone. To save your time, I'll get straight to the point. In this video, you'll find a complete summary of all the recent events related to the U.S. southern border wall. I've gathered information from multiple reliable sources, and as of June 2025, this is the most up-to-date overview you can get. So grab your favorite chair and stay with me until the end of the video. 1. DHS Environmental Law Waivers for Border Wall Construction. Please watch this video to understand clearly and get more information about what follows.
Smuggler's Gulch between San Diego and Tijuana is an area where a lot of tires, trash, and raw sewage flows into the U.S. from Mexico during rainstorms. The area is getting a makeover, not for environmental reasons, but for border security. The Department of Homeland Security has announced it will redo about 350 feet of border barriers at this spot. This is one of several projects fast-tracked by DHS in the San Diego sector. Other areas where there are gaps in the fencing are expected to be sealed off in the coming months. Most of the work will take place east of Jacumba Hot Springs, where up until last June, hundreds of migrants on a daily basis were walking into the U.S. to seek asylum. In a statement, DHS said the projects will close critical gaps in the border barrier and enhance border security operations in the San Diego sector. In order for the work to get cleared, DHS has waived 30 environmental regulations to speed up construction, something environmental groups are questioning. The Center for Biological Diversity says the waivers are another cynical attack by the Trump administration on border communities and wildlife who deserve the same protections that prevail everywhere else in the country. Construction on the new border barriers is expected to begin later this year.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem signed 3 new environmental law waivers in early June 2025, enabling the construction of 36 additional miles of border wall in Arizona and New Mexico. These waivers mark the latest advancement in the ongoing expansion of the U.S. border wall. The waivers allow the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, to bypass 29 key federal laws, including the National Environmental Policy Act, NEPA, the Endangered Species Act, the Clean Water Act, the National Historic Preservation Act, and the Safe Drinking Water Act. This move significantly shortens the construction timeline, from several years down to just a few months, by eliminating complex environmental impact review procedures. In a notable twist, on June 10, 2025, Mexican Senate President Gerardo Fernández Noroña sarcastically stated that Mexico would pay for the U.S. border wall if the border were redrawn to reflect the 1830s, when much of the American Southwest was part of Mexico. His statement was a satirical response to recent U.S. immigration raids, asserting that Mexicans have ancestral claims to lands in the American Southwest. The current construction efforts are concentrated in high-priority areas. The project list covered by the waivers includes 3 sites in the El Paso sector, 1 in the Yuma sector, and 3 in the Tucson sector. These areas were selected based on high levels of border activity and the condition of existing barriers. Environmental groups have strongly opposed these waivers. While DHS Secretary Kristi Noem defends them as necessary to fast-track the 36-mile construction effort, critics warn that these projects threaten critical wildlife habitats. Waiving environmental protections could cause irreversible harm to fragile border ecosystems. The authority to issue such waivers stems from the Real ID Act of 2005, which grants DHS near-absolute power to construct border infrastructure. These waivers override environmental regulations to legally accelerate construction. Federal courts have repeatedly upheld this authority, establishing a strong legal precedent. The political landscape surrounding the border wall has grown increasingly complex as both Republican and Democratic administrations have invoked waiver powers. This reflects the real-world pressures of securing the border, pressures that often override political commitments to environmental stewardship. 2. Los Angeles immigration protests, June 2025. Los Angeles immigration protests, June 2025. Mass protests against the Trump administration's immigration policies have erupted across Los Angeles and rapidly spread nationwide, following a wave of large-scale ICE raids that began on June 7. The detention of SEIU California and SEIU USWW Union President David Huerta during a downtown Los Angeles demonstration on June 9 further inflamed tensions, drawing widespread outrage. The most pivotal development occurred when California labor leader David Huerta was released on a $50,000 bond after being arrested during an anti-ICE protest. He now faces a felony charge of conspiracy to impede a federal officer, a charge that could result in up to 6 years in prison if convicted. Huerta's arrest, viewed by many as symbolic of a broader crackdown on dissent, has galvanized union members and immigrant rights activists alike. In response, President Donald Trump has authorized the deployment of 2,000 additional National Guard troops to Los Angeles, bringing total federal personnel to an unprecedented level. Marines have also been deployed under emergency federal orders, despite strong opposition from California state officials. Mayor Karen Bass has imposed an 8 p.m. curfew across downtown Los Angeles, stating it is intended to prevent opportunistic elements from exploiting the president's chaotic escalation. Over the weekend, 67 protesters were arrested for shutting down the 101 freeway, according to California Highway Patrol Assistant Chief Kyle Foster. The protests have turned increasingly violent. CBS News Los Angeles reported multiple fires set in dumpsters, broken storefront windows, and Molotov cocktails allegedly thrown at police vehicles. In return, law enforcement deployed tear gas and rubber bullets to disperse the crowds. The movement has now taken on a national scale, with solidarity demonstrations erupting in Seattle, San Francisco, Sacramento, Houston, San Antonio, and Chicago. On Saturday, several No Kings protests are planned in Los Angeles, including a major gathering at City Hall. These actions are part of a nationwide campaign involving over 1,900 events aimed at resisting what critics describe as authoritarian overreach by the Trump administration. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has also mobilized the Texas National Guard to maintain peace and order, in anticipation of similar protests. This deployment signals a growing sense of confrontation between state-level authorities and federal forces. Notably, about 500 of the National Guard troops assigned to Los Angeles have received specialized training to assist in ICE immigration raids, a stark escalation in the military's role in domestic immigration enforcement. This operational shift directly intersects with the administration's broader border security agenda, including the renewed push to expand the southern border wall. Indeed, the recent protests, while centered on urban immigration enforcement, cannot be divorced from the larger context of the Trump administration's strategy to fortify the U.S.-Mexico border. The arrest of activists, the use of military force, and the invocation of national security all underscore a coordinated federal approach that links interior enforcement with physical border infrastructure. The political, legal, and human costs of these actions are reverberating nationwide, yet they also reflect how immigration policy and border wall construction have become deeply intertwined in both practice and principle. Military zones established along border, troops deployed. Military zones established along border, troops deployed June 2025. President Trump has successfully established 2 unprecedented military zones along the Mexico border, creating areas where U.S. forces can detain migrants without invoking the Insurrection Act. As of June 15, 2025, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth announced the expansion of military authority across 260 miles of border in New Mexico and Texas, marking a decisive shift in border security strategy.
We very much support President Trump's focus on defending the homeland on our southern border, as well as supporting law enforcement officials doing their job in ICE in Los Angeles who deserve not to be assaulted, accosted, and rioted while rounding up one of the 21 million illegals allowed in as an invasion under the previous administration.
2 strategic military zones operational. The first zone became fully operational in New Mexico on June 8, 2025, covering 110,000 acres, 172 square miles, 7 times the size of Manhattan. This area operates as an extension of Fort Huachuca in Arizona, giving troops unprecedented detention authority. The second zone in Texas, established as an extension of Fort Bliss near El Paso, went live on June 12, 2025, after final land transfers were completed by the International Water and Boundary Commission. These zones represent the most significant military deployment for border security since the 1916 Pancho Villa expedition, allowing troops to detain and question civilian trespassers without requiring emergency declarations. Massive troop deployment shows results. Trump has tripled military presence at the border over 4 months, increasing active forces from 2,500 under the previous administration to 8,000 troops by June 2025. The primary deployment includes 2,400 soldiers from the 4th Infantry Division, stationed from Colorado Springs in March, supported by 105 Stryker armored vehicles. An additional 500 soldiers from Fort Drum, New York arrived at Fort Huachuca on June 10, 2025, specifically to support the expanding border operations. Military officials report this represents the largest peacetime border deployment in modern U.S. history. Dramatic impact on border crossings. The results speak for themselves. Border Patrol apprehended 39,677 migrants in the El Paso sector through April of the fiscal year, representing a 78% decrease from the previous period. Border Patrol agents have encountered roughly 30,000 people attempting unauthorized crossings in New Mexico since fiscal 2025 began in October, but the military zones have significantly disrupted established crossing routes. Strategic game changer. These border military zones represent one of the most innovative approaches to border security in decades, utilizing troops trained for overseas combat in roles that enhance rather than replace border patrol operations. Unlike previous administrations that relied solely on civilian agencies, this military integration provides 24/7 surveillance and rapid response capabilities, previously unavailable. With continued expansion planned for summer 2025, these military zones are transforming border security from a reactive to a proactive operation, establishing American military presence in areas previously left to civilian agencies alone. And then, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more great content. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below and let us know what you think or what you'd like to see next. And remember to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.